Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Forza Motorsport. So update 2.0 dropped for Forza Motorsport, and one of the main pieces of new content to the game was the brand new layouts of Yes Marina coming to Forza Motorsport. So fully updated to the current spec of the track, 4 layouts themselves, and I'm here today to give you my honest thoughts and opinions to see if really it's any good. Maybe you're a day one player that wasn't pleased and wants an excuse to come back to Forza Motorsport. So obviously the track itself is now in the game, and like I mentioned, alongside it comes 4 layouts of it. So we've got the updated full circuit. We also alongside that got the North circuit, as well as the South circuit and the North corkscrew circuit. So plenty of different ways to play, and I'm obviously going to be diving in to each and every single one of them during this video. So let's get into the main meat of this circuit, should I say, which is obviously going to be the full circuit with its updated layout and such. So let's dive into it. I'm going to give you a straight up, disclaimer here. If you want to be playing this track in the best possible way, I fully recommend just play it in nighttime mode. In all honesty, I'm kind of the opinion, and I've always been like this when it comes to Yes Marina, that during the day it's a pretty bland autodrome. It's pretty straightforward. There's not really too much to look at during the day. It just feels like a typical sort of desert racetrack, a bit like the likes of Bahrain, where again, just during the day it just doesn't quite sit right. And if you want to kind of experience it in the best possible way, putting it at night time is just honestly a complete game changer for those kind of tracks. And it's exactly the same here with Yes Marina. Once again, that goes for every single game that Yes Marina features in. So obviously this time around, when it comes to Forza Motorsport, we are seeing an updated version of Yes Marina itself. Obviously over the last couple of years it's had a few, significant layout changes. So gone are the days of the annoying, very slow left-right sections. They are now pretty much high-speed section, left-hander, massive high-speed section once again. For both of those sort of main turns and main places where they had the constant left right parts, and it would just really break up the entire flow of the track. So they're gone. It's the updated version, and overall I think this massively improves the racing that we're going to see here in Yes Marina over the coming years when it comes to Forza Motorsport. Once again, obviously assisted by the real world changes that have gone at the track itself. However, in terms of my overall opinion on Yes Marina, a track that I once thought was very bland and kind of dull, especially in terms of not only the real world racing that you saw there, but in terms of when it came to racing games, this has certainly been shaken up thanks to those changes. So overall, especially in terms of the full circuit, you're going to feel a much different experience. It's much quicker this time around, and overall you should see much more improved racing going on at Yes Marina. So certainly a step in the right direction thanks to the real world changes, and overall what could have been a very sort of bland and boring first post-launch track has kind of been shaken up and just made overall a much better racing track. Whilst yes, it's probably still a bit autodromy for my liking, at night with the new layouts it's just a much more improved experience. So full circuit, in all honesty, is much more exciting than what it would have been had this been released with the kind of old layout that was going on. So yeah, not too bad overall. So with the full circuit being completely changed up and changing my overall opinion, let's next move on to the North circuit layout. And this is where once again we're going to see a few significant changes just in terms of the overall feel of what would have been previously a very dull and pretty boring track. Now obviously, because it's not broken up as much with the constant left rights and such, it's obviously a much quicker a more flowing layout. So obviously we're on the north side of the circuit, essentially sector 1 chopped up. So not too much changes from the full layout of the actual circuit. However, where you'd usually get a left right section is now just a full left. You're going to go back on yourself and then back down through the right, kind of where the last corner would be, and then back over the main straight. So not too bad. Obviously much better overall with its flow thanks to those layout changes. And just in terms of what kind of cars I'd recommend running here, so since it's a shorter layout, you don't want to necessarily be running full race car grids here. I'd recommend though still kind of catering it towards some of those quicker cars thanks to that very, very long straight that we see kind of early on in the full layout of the track. Definitely want to be taking use of something ridiculous like a Koenigsegg or a Bugatti there. So in terms of the North Circuit, once again, much better flow, obviously thanks to the new layouts itself, and definitely caters itself more towards the quicker cars in the game, thanks to that absolutely huge, massive straight. So yeah, if you want to get the most out of this circuit, definitely be using some of the quicker cars in the game at this layout. So now time for layout number 3, which is going to be the South Circuit, once again helped out by real world changes, but definitely compared to the North Circuit, it's much more of a complex section of the track. Definitely more twisty and turny, maybe not catering itself more towards the ridiculously fast cars in the game. And if you really want to kind of, you know, host races at just the South Circuit, I do recommend taking maybe something a bit more, you know, in line with sort of maybe a touring car or something would make for a good, you know, track car around here. Maybe something more kind of akin to maybe a track day sort of race car. Definitely caters itself to more that kind of layout. It's a bit more twisty, bit more technical, bit more tight, I'd say, overall. And obviously you're not going to be absolutely zooming at some ridiculous breakneck speed, because of the section of the track that we have here is just overall much shorter in terms of that, you know, kind of length and the straights and such. Whilst there is a nice section, it's more curved. So definitely in terms of the overall feel of the track, because we're just running on the south end of the circuit, whilst it's still got that better flowing left-hander just off the main curve straight, what it counts for this track, overall it's still a bit more technical and a bit of a different vibe from what you'd see with just the North. So let's move on next to the final layout of the bunch, which is North Corkscrew. So now let's move on to layout number 4, which is the final one of this track coming to the game, which is the North Corkscrew layout. Now again, obviously we're heading to the north side of the circuit. However, it's definitely a shaken up version of that. So you've got your typical start finish where you would naturally start. However, instead of going straight on down to the sort of hairpin section onto the big long straight, it's cut off just after the right hander to go through this technical section that you are seeing in the background here. Now in terms of that section, because the cars do seem to naturally bunch up more and, you know, there's more room for error, I definitely wouldn't recommend having a full grid of cars here, or else I could definitely see it being, you know, rather a lot of chaos. So I'd just avoid that there. In terms of the overall feel of this track, because it's, you know, kind of got the main straight shortened off, and there's that really nice kind of technically challenging tight section, as well as the final part of the lap like you're seeing here, where it's exactly the same as the North Circuit. I would definitely recommend going something more kind of track day-esque, maybe something a little bit slower. Like I said, maybe a few smaller grids. That's definitely more the vibe that I get from this layout than really any of the others. It really does feel like it caters towards more track day vehicles and maybe more road going vehicles than it would, say, you know, the likes of touring cars or big racing vehicles and such. So definitely, you know, gives that vibe of being the sort of shortest and, you know, I guess tiniest version, kind of like a national layout to the entire overall layouts of the bunch. So definitely of the 4, I really do like this layout. However, you know, in terms of wanting to host full races here, I probably wouldn't. Like I said, I'll probably go for something more road going here. However, that does give me a nice variety in terms of ways I want to run this track. So maybe if I wanted to do a TCR race, I go for something like the South layout. Track day, I go for the North Corkscrew. The sort of supercars, I go for the North Circuit, because again, we're not using the entire circuit. It's just basically one full fast section apart from the end of it. And then obviously the full track for me is where I want to be running sort of the race cars in sort of a, you know, endurance style event. So there we go. That is all of the track layouts, and I'm going to give you my final opinions now. So whilst Yes Marina might not be one of those tracks that's high up on my priority list for really any racing game, I'd certainly say thanks to real world changes, it's a much more exciting track layout than it used to be. So overall, it's certainly worth trying it out. I don't know about the longevity of this track. You know, maybe for some it might just be a bit too autodromy, but again, if you haven't driven this track in any racing game in its updated form, this is probably going to be a much better experience than previous. So thank you so much for joining me on this look at Yes Marina in Forza Motorsport. I've had a lot more fun than I expected here. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.